Hi boys and girls, today we are moving to our next unit of study. We're going to be talking about volume and the formula for volume, which is length times width times height. So if you can start by going to your book of math, turning to your table of contents, and going ahead and writing down the title of today's lesson. Today's lesson is titled Find Volume Using Unit Cubes. So unit cubes are these little bitty blocks that we can use to figure out how much space is inside of an object. So go ahead and pause the video while you write down find volume using unit cubes in your table of contents. All right, our learning target for today is I can find the volume of rectangular prisms by counting unit cubes. So take another moment, pause the video if you need to, so that you can get the learning target down for today. So again, I can find the volume of rectangular prisms by counting unit cubes. So some of the important things I see in there are the word volume. Volume is how much space is inside of a figure. I see the word rectangular prism. Rectangular prisms are all of these shapes that you're going to see on our pictures today. And then also the other part of this is counting unit cubes. So you can use a formula or you can simply just count the little boxes that you see. So for question number 1, notice at the bottom part right here, this layer is shaded. That's going to be very important for us. So it says the green cubes show one layer of figure A. So on my copy, it's shaded a light green. Yours is probably a light gray. So the green cubes show one layer of figure A. So this right here is called a layer. I like to think of them as like layers of a cake. So right now this has 2 layers in it. So figure A has those 2 layers. So here's layer 1 and here is layer 2. And there are blank cubes in each layer. If I look very closely at this, I can see that there are 2 cubes on this front side. And if I look down the back side, I can see there's 2 more cubes. So to figure out that, I can use the formula area, which is 2 times 2 in this one, which gives me 4 cubes in that bottom layer. Now the last part's asking the volume of figure A. So how many cubes are in this all together? I can take what I just did, this bottom layer or the base of my figure. So that 2 times 2, and then I can look and see how tall my figure is. It's also 2 layers. So if I multiply 2 times 2, that's where I get the 4 that I just got up here, and then 4 times 2 gives me 8. So there are 8 cubic units in this first figure. All right, looking at our second figure. Fill in the blanks to describe figure B. First, it's looking at how many layers are in the shape. Remember layers? Think of it like layers in a cake. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. You can label them on the outside too if you'd like. Then it's looking for how many cubes are in each of those layers. So if I zoom into layer 1, and I look at the front side of it, so this is my length, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I look at my width over here, there's 2. I can say 5 times 2 gives me 10. So there's 10 cubes this bottom layer. Right now we can see 5 in the front and 1 right here. We have to imagine that there's some in the back of this that are holding up this second layer back here. So the next question wants to know what the volume is. So how many cubes are in this shape all together? I can take this base that I just learned, this first layer, and I know that there are 10 in that first layer, and then I can count how high it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 4 layers tall. So 4 groups of 10 would give me 40. So there are 40 cubic units inside the shape. If you add another layer to figure B, what would the new volume be? Explain. So currently right now we have 4 layers of 10. So if we added an additional layer up here, that would give us 5 layers of 10. So a way to put that into words is another layer adds 10 more unit cubes. So you can take what we already knew, which was 40, add that additional 10 in this next layer that we put on there to get 50. So our new volume of this figure would be 50 cubic units. Take a moment to pause the video if you need to get caught up. All right, looking at the last two on our first page of our BOM notes. So looking at prism G, so one way we name geometrical shapes is by capital letters. We look at that prism. In this case, it's a rectangular prism. They're calling this rectangular prism prism G. So there are blank layers with blank cubes in each layer. So take a moment. There are blank layers with blank cubes in each layer. So good job. There are 2 layers. This number right here is telling us that there are 2 layers. And in each of those layers, I see a 3 by 2. So 3 times 2 gives us 6. Our next one says blank cubes plus blank cubes equals blank cubes. So if I look at layer 1 has 6 cubes. Layer 2 also has 6 cubes for a total of 12 cubes. So the volume of prism G is 12 cubic centimeters. It's changed from the ones we previously did. The ones before were just considered cubic units because they didn't have a measurement attached to them or a unit attached to them. If you look at this one, what's different is that you see that they're talking about centimeter size blocks. So that way it changes to cubic centimeters. All right, looking at prism H at the very bottom of your page. There are blank layers with blank cubes in each layer. So take a moment to figure out how many layers there are. Good, there are 2. And then how many cubes are in each of those layers. I notice the length is a 5 and the width is a 2. So 5 times 2 gives me 10. So 2 layers of 10 cubes. So this means there are 2 layers with 10 cubes each for a total of 20 little bitty unit cubes. And in this case, we're talking about the measurement of feet. So the volume is 20 cubic feet. All right, your second set of notes today are also going in your BOM. So once you finish this page, make sure you glue it on the second page. This will also be inside your book of math. Even though it says practice, we're practicing problems that you will see that go along with this skill. All right, number 1. What is the volume of the rectangular prism? So first off, remember volume equals length times width times height. Okay? Another way that you can write this formula is if you already know these two, this is considered your base. So you might see volume equals your base or your base layer times your height. So I'm going to start off and look at my formula. I'm looking at the length. How long is it across the bottom? So I'm going to count those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my length is 6. Now I'm going to look for my width. My width is going beside it. And I see 2 boxes. 1, 2. So times 2. I need to solve that first. And then I'm going to look for how tall my figure is. If I go back over here, I can use this 1 to help me. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 layers tall. Now I'm ready to solve. So 6 times 2 is 12. Times 5 gives me 60. There's no units on this one. It's not talking about specific inches, feet, or meters. So these are just cubic units. please make sure you've shown all of your formula right here on this side. That's really going to be helpful for us for our next couple lessons, because eventually some of these pieces are going to be missing. All right, looking at the second one, what is the volume of this box? So this one is giving you a little bit of information, and you have to use the clues to help you figure out the rest of it. So right now we can see this bottom layer, but we're not able to see what's inside the rest of this box. I can see the number 3 right here. That's going to help me to know that there's actually 3 layers in here. So I have to use my imagination a little bit. So again, still going to use that formula to help me. So volume equals length times width times height. So if I look for my length first, it's going across the bottom. It's my longer side. So I'm going to count those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'm going to look for my width. My width is attached to my length on the base. So this is your base again, your length and your width. There is 2. I'm going to multiply those together first. And then I'm looking for that height. Remember, we can't actually see that in here, but if we use the clues, this 3 right here tells me that it is 3 layers high. Now I'm ready to solve. So 5 times 2 gives us 10, and then 10 times 3 gives us 30. So this one has units on it. It's talking about centimeters, so we're going to use 30 cubic centimeters. Cindy chose B as the correct answer. So Cindy chose 10 cubic units as her answer. How did she get that answer? So looking at this picture, how do you think that Cindy got 10 cubic units? All right, so it looks like Cindy only looked at that bottom layer and she forgot to look at the height. So she got the correct amount of blocks in one layer, but she forgot to add that height to it. So she forgot to add 3 rows or 3 layers of that 10. So she found the 10 cubes in one layer, and then forgot to multiply 10 by the 3 layers. Cindy's mistake is actually a very common mistake. Some of you guys will rush and forget to look at all the information in the problem, and you'll just count those blocks and think you're done. But you really have to look at all the different pieces that are given to make sure that you're using everything that's given to you to get to the correct answer. All right, our third practice problem. Which expressions, there's more than one answer because I see that S, can be used to find the volume of this rectangular prism? Circle the letter of all that apply. So first off, I'm going to count the blocks in each row and each layer to see how many we have. So it looks like there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in each layer. So there's a 6. Only 1 going back. And then I'm going to look at the height of this one. So it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I start off with the volume formula, it's that length times width times height. Right now my length is a 6, my width is a 1, and my height is a 6. Do I see anything on there that looks like 6 times 1 times 6? So 6 times 1 times 6. So E has those, they're all in a different order. So we could still do that. We could do 6 groups of 6 and only 1 deep. I'm looking for another answer though. So if I look at each of these rows, I know that this row has 6 in it. This layer has 6. This layer has 6. This layer has 6. And the last layer has 6. I can think about repeated addition. And repeated addition tells me that I can repeat the same factor multiple times using addition to get to my answer. So I can add 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6. And I do see that choice B on here is matching repeated addition. The first one would not work because it's having you add 6 plus 4 plus 1. Nowhere in here do we have 4. C does not work because it's only looking at the bottom. This is just the base or layer 1. It's doing a 6 by 1. And the last one, 6 plus 6 plus 1, takes all of these numbers that we found and just adds them. We have to remember that in the volume formula, we are multiplying each of those numbers. All right, our last question. Mr. Carlo is building a storage box in his workshop. The space where he plans to put the box is 5 feet long and 2 feet wide. He wants the volume of the box to be at least 36 cubic feet, but no more than 56 cubic feet. How tall should Mr. Carlo make the box? Explain. So there's some important information here. It looks like he wants the volume to be between 36 cubic feet and no bigger than 56 cubic feet. So we're looking for a volume between 36 and 56 cubic feet. That's pretty important. We're going to look at what he has so far. So we're looking for this mystery number, and there could be more than one answer. If I look at this base layer and I look at the area or use the volume formula to start off with, I can take the length times the width, so 5 times my 2, so 5 times my 2 to get 10 boxes in each layer. So there's 10 cubic feet in each layer. So we're trying to get between 36 and 56. So I'm going to make a little chart over here. If I do a 5 by 2, which is 10, and I decided to make 2 layers, this would give me 20 cubic feet. Is 20 between 36 and 56? No, so this one is too low. Okay, I'm going to take that original amount. I know there's 10 in a layer and multiply it by 3 layers. So imagine a 10, a 10, and a 10. This would give me 30. Is 30 between 36 and 56? Nope, still too low. Okay, so we're going to try another one. Take that original 10 blocks and this time try 4 layers. This will give you 40. Is 40 between 36 and 56? Yes, so this one could be the answer. Let's keep trying. If I took those 10 in each layer and multiplied them by 5 layers, I would get 50. Is 50 between 36 and 56? Yep, so that one could work as well. Now let's just try one more. Take my original 10 in my layer, and this time do 6 layers of 10. Now I get 60. Is 60 in between the number that he needs? No, this one's too high. So this tells me that Mr. Carlo could make a box that has 4 layers or 5 layers. And in this case, those layers are feet. So he could use 4 feet or he could use 5 feet. So I'm running out of room, but I'm going to make it work on here. So he could make the box 4 or 5 feet tall. So he could make the box 4 or 5 feet tall. Go ahead and pause the video until you are finished. All right, great job guys working on your first volume lesson. The next thing you guys are going to work on is your independent practice sheet. It looks like this. I'm going to go over the example with you in problem 1 just to kind of get you started to show you what I'm looking for. So in the example problem, they didn't label anything on here. we're looking for the length, the width, and the height. So the length is the longer side. Remember, the length and the width are part of your base, that base layer on the bottom, okay? Length times width is also known as the area of a 2D shape. Since we're working with 3D shapes, that's why we have 3 different units of measurement. So start with that length, it's the longer side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, I see a 4. For my width, connected to it, I see a 2. And then if I'm looking at my height, I see a 2 as well. So the formula that I'm looking from you is 4 for your long side times 2 for your width, and then your height is times 2. So that when you solve them, 4 times 2 is 8, times 2 gives you 16. So to add that onto the box over here on the right, what they did is they're looking for the length, which was the 4 in your formula, the width, which is your 2, your height, which is your 2, and then the V stands for volume. This is your answer. Let's do one more together. So number 1, looking for the length times the width times the height. So if I look across right here, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So right now, I know the base or the area of the bottom layer. There is a 5 by 4. Remember, length is your longer side, okay? It's gonna be a bigger factor. Now I'm looking to see how tall or how high my figure is, which is right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I add that to my formula. You can go ahead and fill your numbers in if you'd like to. So we have a 5, a 4, and a 5. So 5, 4, 5. And now we're looking for that volume. So I start with the first 2 factors. 5 times 4 is 20 times your 5. And then think of the strategy we used where we can multiply those first 2 factors. So 2 times 5 is 10. Add that extra 0. So we get 100. All right, go ahead and finish the rest of this worksheet, and then please turn it in so that I can look over it. Make sure that your name is on your paper right now. If not, go ahead and add it on there. There's not a spot for your number, so you can put your number out here on the outside. And again, when you are done, go ahead and turn this in, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you guys back on Thursday. Make me proud, guys.